It was passed in the wake of 9/11 and calls for new and vast powers for US intelligence agencies understandably had lots of backing. The reforms, known as the Patriot Act, according to President Bush, were designed to prevent another attack like the one on September 11th. It essentially gave organisations like the NSA more access to internet records, made it easier to tap phones, and made it easier to share intelligence information.
Today we take an essential step in defeating terrorism while protecting the constitutional rights of all Americans.
US politicians who penned the law knew that there was a fine line between the right to privacy and keeping American citizens safe. So a 5-year sunset clause was inserted into the Act. It was routinely renewed until shocking revelations by Edward Snowden threw a giant spanner into the works.
They also found that they unreasonably intrude into the private lives of ordinary citizens, individuals who have never been suspected of any wrongdoing or criminal activity.
Since then, the mass surveillance debate has raged on, and the revelations revealed by Mr. Snowden brought into question how useful such widespread powers actually are. Snowden announced the Patriot Act was secretly being used to justify the collection of phone records from millions of Americans. But the expired law is likely to be replaced as early as this week with new legislation, the USA Freedom Act, as it's been claimed the US is at risk without such laws. The act has cross-party support and is backed by President Obama.
Terrorists like Al-Qaeda and ISIL aren't suddenly going to stop plotting against us at midnight tomorrow. And we shouldn't surrender the tools that help keep us safe. It would be irresponsible.
It would scale back the bulk collection of phone records by the NSA, but they would still be able to get the data from phone companies. Although some argue it doesn't go far enough in reining in the authorities, it would be the first rollback of surveillance in the US since 1978. That's possibly bad news for Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who wanted to simply renew the Patriot Act. He was strongly opposed on all sides, though, especially by his colleague Rand Paul, who's running for president on a largely libertarian agenda.
Despite the tech companies' assertions that they provide information on their customers only when required under law and not knowingly through a back door, the perception that they enabled the spying program has lingered. It's clear to every single tech company that this is affecting their bottom line.
There's a balance to be struck between protecting American citizens from potential terror suspects and protecting civil liberties and privacy concerns. So it looks like the Freedom Act may well have to be the answer.